Hey guys, so this time we're going to look at, this is episode 4, pulling down the template, but I think we're going to combine 4 and 5 since they're both pretty, especially number 4 is very easy to do. So, and I'll post this in the show notes, but we have a repository here on our GitHub page that's called, I think, React, or AWS Service React template. It's right there. And so if you look at the README, the README is what we're going to be stepping through. And so here's some of the prerequisites we already covered. Here's, again, setting up the AWS accounts, which we already covered. And then here's where we are. We're going to set up the actual project here. So what this is going to have us do is it's going to have us come into our serverless directory, and we're just going to run this command. And we're going to replace project name with the name of our project, which in this case is price gouging. So you would just type price gouging. I've already done this, but you would just do that and hit enter, and it downloads the template for you. Once you have that, you'll have a price gouging directory, so we can just change directory into that. And then we have the git step. So here I have a gist, and if you check out this gist, you're basically going to come in here and you're going to copy this raw file, and you're going to copy this whole thing, and you're going to paste it in the project's git config. Once you do that, you're going to change all of the, it says right here, it says in the README, excuse me, let me go back. It says change, replace project name and developer name. So in this case, I've already done that. Here's our project name, price gouging, and then the developer name down here is just for a branch in a remote. I have Cody and Cody there. The next step after that is to set up the serverless directory. So all you're going to do is you're going to cd into the serverless directory. And again, I've already done this part of it. So you're going to yarn, or you're going to search for pre-deploy. Oh, sorry, we missed a step. I want to go back. After you modify the git config, you're going to, actually this is a little bit wrong. Let me check this. In the README here, it's going to be, I have these steps a little bit, oh wait, these actually are in the right order. Oh, wait, I'm in the wrong direction. I'm so confusing myself, sorry. Okay, we're in the right branch here. So under the README here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this order right here where it says, sorry for the confusion, it says first we want to, okay. Okay, now let me go back here. I'll refresh this here. There we go. So we're going to check out, we're going to leave the template branch behind. We're going to check out branch and developer name. So for me, it would be Cody. I've already created that branch, so I'm just going to hit that. And now I'm on the Cody branch. Then we're going to do a global search for project name and replace it with the name of the project. In this case, it's price gouging. Once we've done that, then we are ready to go into the serverless directory. The project is now set up. Now we have to set up the back end and the 2 front ends. In this case, now we're going to be setting up the serverless back end. So I'm now in the serverless directory down here. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to yarn to install the packages. And then I'm going to run these 3 commands. And these are going to take a while. You can run these simultaneously. You can run these in different tabs. And I've already run these because this is what I wanted to get to, because it takes a while for these to run. The reason it takes a while for this to run is because this is going to provision all of your back-end resources, including a CloudFront distribution, which takes a while to set up. The way you find those is you do a global search for pre-deploy and change those in there. So this is the step where we're at kind of live here. So I'm going to do a search for post-deploy to do. And so we're going to have a lot of these. We're going to have, or we're going to have a few of these rather. So we have domain name, pinpoint app ID. Right now we're going to leave the domain name as is. We don't really have a domain name for this, so it's just going to set up some dummy domains. We'll leave that as it is. So what we want to do is we want to, in order to get the pinpoint app ID, we're going to run this command. And this is going to give us the ID of the pinpoint app ID. So we're going to put that in there, and then we're going to run that command again for staging. And then once again for production. Okay, and then we're done with this, so we can delete that post deploy to do. All right, now here is for our AppSync API. The first time you deploy this, there's no user pool, so you have to deploy it with authentication type API key. Once that's done, we can get rid of this line, and then we can uncomment this. We can comment this back in. So now we've gotten rid of all the post-deploy to-dos, so let's see what we do next. All right, we're going to redeploy all of these assets, all of these services. So we can just go ahead, and again, we can run these in separate tabs. Which we'll do. And this shouldn't take too long. After this, our backend is going to be completely set up, and we're going to move on to setting up the React native client, and then finally the React client, which also should, the hardest part about doing that, or the most annoying part, is getting the environment variables, which we can actually go ahead and do while we're waiting for this to deploy. But I think I'll at least wait for the, we had an error. Okay. This screwed up because we tried to do it simultaneously, and it, of course I was like, you can do this simultaneously, and then you can't do it simultaneously. So that one, staging went through, production went through. I'm just gonna run development one more time. If you run them in sequence, there's a chance it'll actually delete the CloudFront template before it has a chance to deploy. So let me run that one more time. While I'm waiting for that to deploy, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go to one of these tabs here, and I'm going to cd into the React Native directory. And I already have Expo CLI installed, so I don't need to do that. And then we need to modify the environment.js, or first, yeah, modify the environment.js variables. So let's go in here and let's take a look at environment.js. So up here, it's going to list all the commands you have to run in order to get this stuff. So what we're going to do here is, to make this easier, I'm going to change, I'm just going to change stage to development, just so I can do that pretty easily. I just want to make sure our development ran successfully. So what we need to do here is, this first one is going to give us the GraphQL endpoint, the AWS AppSync GraphQL endpoint. So we're going to take that, it's right here, and we can just copy this, and we're going to put it in the GraphQL endpoint. And then we're going to run the same command for staging. And then once again for production. We're not putting anything sensitive in these files. These are just for when we change environments. These are environment variables, but they're nothing sensitive. These files won't be in Git. So, these files may not be in Git though, so you may have to create these. If we take them out, we'll probably write a script that'll automatically set them up with some blank defaults though. Okay, now we got that. Then we need to get the pinpoint, which we already got. It's the same thing here, so we can just copy these. Go in here and paste the pinpoint app IDs from this YAML. So env.yaml is for the back end, environment.js is for the React Native front end, and then we're going to have to do this again for the React web front end, but I'll show you how to do that in a second. And then grab the production. All right, now we have that. Now we need to get the user pool ID. So we're just going to run this. And here's the ID. And again, this is development. So we're just going to paste this right here. And then we're going to get staging. And there might be an easier way to do this. You could probably do this with cloud formation outputs. And that's we're going to talk about that at the end in the last video about optimizations and future development on this setup, because we think that we could easily kind of capture these without having to go through this manual process. All right, so once we have the user pool ID, we then need to get the user pool web client ID. So we need to take what we need to do is we need to take the user pool ID from each environment. And so we're going to paste this in here. And do that. What did I do wrong here? Make sure I have the right user pool ID. Let me just see here. User pool ID. That looks right. Let me see what I'm doing wrong here. This is odd. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, wait. Wait, let me see. User pools. Something weird is going on. Let me pause this and find out what I can get. Okay. Well, if you were watching, you're probably screaming at me because I just forgot to change this back to development developer. Development developer. There we go. Now we have we're looking for the web client, so the client ID is right there. So we paste that right there. All right, so then we can go on to staging. Sorry about that, that was dumb. And we can paste the user pool ID here from staging, which we want the web client. The app client is for native Android and iOS projects, just FYI. So then we're going to put this under web client ID. And then finally we're going to get the, I want the client ID. And then finally we're going to get the production going here. We have the web right here. There we go. And then we need to get the identity pool ID, which is just another list like this. Identity pool ID is right there. And then we just paste this right here. And then we do it for staging. And then finally, production. Production. Right here. And then, okay, so we're going to set up we need to get the CloudFront distribution domain name. So we're going to list the distributions here. This is for development again, and we should have domain name right here. Put this in for development. And then for staging, and then finally for production. Oops. Production domain or CDN. There we go. And then base URL we can leave for right now. The last thing we have to set up is Sentry URL. So how do we set up the Sentry URL? We go to sentry.io and create this. This is for bug reporting. So we'll get a notification every time there's a bug about what it is and everything. So we're going to go to organization. We're going to go to projects. We're going to add a new project, which I always forget where it is. Create project. There it is. And we're going to do React Native. I'll just do React. That's fine. And then we're going to call this price. We'll just call this price gouging so it matches our project name in there because that's what we're going to need to do that. So we're just going to match the project name, create project. And then we should get this right here, which is all we have to put in over here. And then we're all good. So what we've done now is we've configured the environment for React Native. So if we're in the React Native directory, we can just do a yarn install now. There we go. And what we're going to do now is we're going to run yarn iOS to open up the emulator and make sure everything is working. So that'll open up our Metro bundler here. And it should open a simulator in a moment. As a matter of fact, we might have already had one open. Let me see if this is going to work. I might have to close it and open again. So this is just our stock background. So we'll change that, but this is what we have right now. So there we go. So let's just go ahead and see if we can sign in. So we'll create a new account. Cody at. And then I'm going to take this off screen for my password. And then I'm going to click create account. And so if we go to our email, we should have a code. Zero 34758. And then we should be able to, we're all signed in. There's not much to it right now, but that's the app. We're all signed in and ready to go. So that's React Native getting set up. The last thing we need to do is set up actually the React app. So same thing. Down here we have the, we're gonna have to modify each individual stage. So let's go into, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. We're gonna go into each stage here. So what we have is, we're going to go into React clients, and then we're going to have 3 environment variable or files for the web. So what we need to do is we need to open .env.development, and what we're going to do to make this easier is we're just going to copy these from here. And we're going to paste them here, and then we're going to go grab the Sentry URL and paste that here. And then you have to prefix environment variables with React app. So we're just going to do this real quick. And yes, you could do a regex to do this. It's just easier to show you what we're doing. And so then we're going to replace all of these, all of the semicolons, or the colons with equal signs. And then finally, we're going to get rid of these commas. All right. Oops. Got this. We can copy this, and we can take this to .env staging. And the Sentry URL is not going to change. The Sentry URL is going to stay the same. But we need to go grab the staging environment variables from here. And we'll paste those here. We can do a little bit, now we can do, clean this up and do a little bit of regex magic here. So we can do file, followed by white space. Replace that with React app underscore. Oh yeah, my regex skills are on point. Maybe just do this. No. No, that's the end. I will get this. Let's see. That's gonna do. Oh, I didn't have regexes turned on. So that was why it was not gonna work. Oh, can change that back. And there we go. And then we're just going to change colon to an equal, actually colon space to an equal, And then we're going to get rid of the commas. There we go. So there's our staging file. And again, we can copy this over to env.production. Go grab our production stuff from over here. And then we're going to do our regex magic here. And there we go. Now we should be able to go back to the README and see what's next. Get rid of this. Which is a yarn install. I'm just closing some other files while that's running. Okay, then we should be able to do a yarn start to make sure everything worked. There we go. We should be able to sign in with our account we used. Let me just take this off screen. There we go. We should be able to sign in because it's tied to the same back end. And there you go. We're signed into the web app, the web front end now too. See, they're actually connected. We didn't have to create another account. Okay, so that is pretty much it for setup of the apps. What we have to do now is we have to set the Git branches correctly. So we already did this step, so it's going to throw an error if you try to do that. But what we can do is just git checkout Cody. We already. Oh, so I'm not in the right. And then git checkout Cody, then git add. I'll just copy this. So then we're going to check out a new branch staging, and then we're just going to git merge Cody. It's already merged, and then we can just git push because it's already set up in your git config file, and it knows exactly where to go. So that's going to be staging, and then this master branch is going to be for production. And so we're just going to wait for this to finish, and this is all going to a code commit repository, a private repository that's hosted on AWS. So we'll do this one more time for production. And that will push production. Now I need to change this around a little bit because this is a little bit out of order. So bear with me here. This README is a little bit messed up because we need to set up Amplify before we get into the workflow. Okay, so we're all done over there. And so what I need to do, sorry, I was doing something else over here. So I'm going to take this amplify step. Well, I'm going to check out the template. So these changes will be, so we can push these changes up. So I'm going to take amplify here, this amplify step, and I'm going to move this up. Okay, so that'll go to our template changes. So this is interesting because I'm going to, let me just go back to my branch. Then I'm going to move that same thing again. So right now, the Amplify CLI or the AWS CLI has a bug where it won't. This command should work and set up an Amplify backend for you. It does not work because of a bug with OAuth and the repository. So what we actually have to do is, and we try never to actually log into the backend here, but what we're actually going to do is we're going to log into the backend here and log into the log into the console, the AWS console, and we're going to set this up really quickly. So what we have to do for each environment is we have to do this. We have to log in, and this is the root account. We're going to switch roles, and so for the role, it's the role we set up. The account would be price gouging development, and then this is simply the name of the project environment followed by account access role, and then again we're going to type this in for display name. And so now we're in the Oregon region, so let's go over to US East, and we're going to just open up all apps, connect app, AWS code commit. There's our repository. There's our my topic branch. Next. Next. Save and deploy. And then we're going to do the same exact thing. Wait for this to finish. There we go. And then we're going to switch roles. And we're going to go over to our staging environment. Same thing here. We're just going to go into all apps, connect app, code commit, next, price gouging staging, next, save and deploy. And then finally, we're going to go over to production. Of course, my keyboard has stopped working. There we go. Maybe. Okay, we're coming in and out here. There we go. connected for a second. Let's see if this lasts. There we go. And price gouging production. Same thing. Now again, if that command starts working, we can skip all this and we don't have to do this through the GUI. And I filed a bug with them to let them know that it doesn't work. So hopefully that gets fixed and we don't have to ever log into this console. Save and deploy. Okay, now as that's going, as it's finishing, what we can do is we can update the app, which is what we're going to need to do, put the environment variables in there. So what we want to do is list the apps we have up there, which we're going to do development first. And we're going to grab the app ID, which is going to be right here. And so then what we want to do is put stage development and then we want to put the the development envs here. So now what we're going to do is, let's use some regex trickery here. And let's go with, see if I can, we'll do end of line, we'll replace with a comma. Can we actually do, no, I guess we can't get rid of that new line. Okay, fine. Then we'll just do bam, 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 bam. Get rid of that last comma. And then we're going to come over here to the environment variables and we're going to wipe out all of this up till this point, that last backslash. So now we should be able to update that project with the environment variables we need. So let's try that. Okay, it updated. And now we're going to do the same thing for staging. So we want to find development and we're going to place this with staging. And then we're going to go into, let's undo all this stuff. There we go. And then let's do the same thing here. Can we do, I guess not. And maybe we could do that. There we go. Okay, great. Now we can just copy this and go over to the environment variable section of the script, wipe out that, paste it, and then copy this command, clear the input and run that. Oh, I didn't get the app ID. That's right, I need to get the app ID. App ID is right here. So we'll replace that, put that new app ID in there, and then run the command for staging. There we go. And then we got to do this for production one more time. So let's go to production and go. Copy this, undo it. Go to the environment variable section and paste this here. Also, if CloudFormation rather starts supporting Amplify, we could put this in the original script, which would be nice. It's nice not to have to do this from the command line. And then let us get the actual app ID. Which is right here. I didn't change this. Production. There we go. There we go. So now if we actually go back to development, and go to all apps, and this app built, and we should be able to open it up here. Yep, and actually see it remotely. So we actually have a deployed app on 3 different environments out in the wild. So I know that was a long one, but that takes care of all the setup. We'll be looking at kind of working through this and the Git workflow for deploying and all that next time. But you're all set up. You now have a development backend, a staging backend, a production backend. You have a development React Native client. You have a staging React Native client, and you have a production React Native client. And you have a development React web client, a staging React web client, and a production web client. And given the fact that I had to eke through a lot of that, that's pretty quick.